Our first speaker today is Richard Denton. He will introduce himself. His topic is communicating the Bible to all the world. Take it away, Richard.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so I'm a research professor with Dartmouth College in physics and astronomy, but here I'm representing all the Word Bible Translators with Todd Allman, who is the president of our organization. So, first, the big idea. Thousands of languages still need Bible translation, but the current process requires a lot of time and money. Our goal is to serve Christian missionaries by working with them to produce accurate and easily understandable Bible translations through an easier, faster, and less expensive process. So imagine that Bible translation could be like this. This is showing our program translating Genesis 1 through 5 in Tagalog, which is the dominant language in the Philippines. So what we're building is a Bible translation superhighway. A superhighway takes a lot of work to build, but once it's finished, it allows people to get where they want to go very quickly. So here's the problem. Translating just the New Testament takes a lot of time and money, typically 12 to 15 years, at a cost ranging from $500,000 to $1 million. And typically, missionaries produce just one translation for an adult church audience. Here's our solution. Computer-generated translations from a meaning-based, pre-analyzed Bible. Linguistically motivated, rules-based system producing high-quality translations. This is not a statistical approach like Google Translate that is dependent on a large body of translated texts. The computer translations are then edited by mother tongue translators to ensure high-quality translations. Our software can produce different translations tailored to specific audiences, like unchurched children, and the speed of translation is greatly increased and the cost greatly reduced. So here's an example. There's a language called Ata-Magindi. It's a language of the Philippines, and in the upper right you see Roger Stone, who is a translator who's working with us. And we just completed a first draft of Genesis into Ata-Magindi at a rate of 29 verses per hour. This is not just our computer translation part where it spews out the translation like you saw in the video. This includes the manual editing of the draft. Now the usual rate is about 5.5 verses per hour. So the speed up is a factor of more than 5. Now drafting, what I'm talking about here, where we get the first draft of the Bible translation, is the most time-consuming part of Bible translation. But there are other stages. Our estimates indicate that the total time required for translations will be reduced by about 40% using our system. And considering the huge investment in Bible translation around the world, that could make a big difference. One unexpected result of using our system is that we found that the mother tongue translators actually preferred working with it. They like starting from a translation in their own language rather than from another major language that they're familiar with. And also they found that the team effort was enhanced. Now, the reason for that was because typically they had a team of people and one person would come up with a first draft for a Bible verse and then they would all talk about it. But they would be reluctant to criticize what the first person had done because it was someone that they knew. But when they have a draft from the computer, nobody minds criticizing that. So this is what Roger Stone said about this. He says, I see that this system has a great potential for empowering mother tongue translators who are skilled in writing naturally in their own language, but are not able to do exegetical research on their own. The system can output a clear, natural, and grammatically correct version, and the mother tongue translators can use their skills to make the text smoother and more natural. This will make for a faster and simpler process. The only problem is that all the Old Testament books have not yet been analyzed. So for Roger, he did his own New Testament translation, so his interest is in doing the Old Testament. In most languages, even when they translate the New Testament, they don't have time to do the Old Testament. So here's a sketch of our translation process. The tan items are the items that are provided by us, and they are only done once. The blue items are done for each specific target language, the language that we're translating into. So, provided with our analysis of the Bible text, which is independent of the target language, provided we input that plus the vocabulary and grammar of the target language, we run those through our translation software, and that yields a computer translation. That is then edited by mother tongue translators for naturalness and to ensure accuracy, which gives us what we call a presentable draft translation. So I'm going to talk about one of the aspects of the project that I'm most interested in and that I'm most involved in, which is how we represent complexity in our translations. This is showing our computer translations into English from Esther 4:16 for two audiences. In this case, these translations have not been edited, so these are what comes straight out of the computer. So first we have the churched adult audience in the middle column, and it says, Esther told Hathach to say to Mordecai, call all of the Jews who are in Susa. Tell the Jews to fast for 3 days and for 3 nights. My servants and I will also fast for 3 days and 3 nights. Then I'll go to the king. Although I'll be breaking the king's law, I'll go to him, and if I die, I'll die. So on the right, we have an unchurched children audience. Now, we have the capability in our software of including extra information and having switches. And depending on the choice of how these switches are set, you can generate the churched adult audience version or the unchurched children version. And you note some differences here. There are items in red, and then there are items on the right in blue. The item in red here on the left is to fast. And for adults, they would understand what it means to fast. But children might not understand that. So in the version for children, to fast is expanded into not eat food so that they could pray, which the children may find easier to understand. Secondly, for this unchurched children version, there is implicit information that's added. Instead of just saying Susa, it says the city named Susa. And then there's an extra sentence that's added. The Jews should pray that God will protect me. So that helps to explain why she's asking Mordecai to have the Jews pray for her. So we have 3 different ways of introducing complex terms. So one way is what we call an explication. It's an expanded version of a complex term, and that was what we were using for the verb fast. So that's expanded into somebody does not eat food so that that person can pray. A second way we can introduce complex terms is with a pairing. So it's possible that not all these complex terms are available in the language. And so we might want to fall back on a simpler term. So here we pair the word pearls with jewelry. And so if the language doesn't have pearls, it will default to jewelry. And the third way is with an alternate where we have to write out a separate sentence. And we do that with theologically important terms that cannot be expressed with a simple substitution. So here Jesus saw that those people had faith. So we want to keep a version with faith because we think that's important theologically. But we can use an alternate to express that. Saw that those people trusted in him much. 2 other things we do is we can have switches. You can have a literal version or a dynamic version of the Bible. So here there's a sentence, my time has not yet come, Jesus said, responding to his mother at Cana. Or you can use a dynamic version, this time is not the time when I should do something. And another thing that we do is we have meaning alternates. So sometimes we're not sure of the meaning. And in that case, we include an alternate. So here, John saw many Pharisees who were coming so that he would baptize them. So that's implying that the Pharisees were coming in order to be baptized. but it's not certain that that's the meaning. So we have an alternate who were coming to the place where he was baptizing people. These are some recent innovations we've added to our system. So we've added the capability to express what's called metonymy. Metonymy is where you say that somebody did something, but you really mean that somebody else did something. And the first somebody kind of represents the other somebody. So in the literal version where you can use metonymy, you could say Herod killed John, but Herod probably didn't kill him. So if you don't allow metonymy, it would come out as Herod's soldier killed John. So Herod was responsible for John's death, but he didn't kill him himself. Another option we've included is expressing a first person expressed as a third person concept. Some languages don't allow this. So Jesus will speak about himself. The Son of Man will suffer. In some languages, you have to say, I will suffer. So we have a switch that can determine which of these we would use. Another thing we've added recently is what we call third person imperative. That's in English, that's expressed with may. May you be honored in the Lord's Prayer. If the language doesn't include that, then you can say, I pray that you will be honored. Whenever we have a passive like this, be honored is a passive. So you're stating something without saying who the subject of the sentence is. We always include the agent. And if the language includes the passive, then that agent can be omitted. But if not, then it will be inserted. We also have included metaphorical versions of the verb to be and the adjective all. So John says, I am a voice. So it doesn't really mean he is a voice. So it's possible that in a language you could express this with something like, I am like a voice. And there are many verses in the Bible where the verb all is used, but it doesn't literally mean all. So all people were going to that man. With this version, you could make it say something like many people are going to that man. So I'm going to finish up with an endorsement and talk about where we are in the project. Greg Carlson said, who is the director of the SIL or Wycliffe Vanuatu branch, wrote, all the Word's new approach to Bible translation is amazing. It cuts time and cost for first draft translation. It is already producing accurate and easily understandable translations in a variety of language families. It produces perfectly consistent spelling and has the ability to produce translations tailored for different audiences within a language group, like Christian adults, children, and non-believers. Much of the groundwork of one-time analysis and programming has been completed. When that reaches 100%, we'll see the full power of this new approach. I believe this tool has the potential to make a significant impact on the Bible translation movement. So where are we? We have about 25% of the Bible analyzed, so we need to get the rest of the Bible analyzed. Now, there's a major development that's happened recently. In order to accelerate our progress, Wycliffe Canada has taken over our project. Wycliffe Canada translators are now working on analysis of the Gospels under our guidance. Our goal is to finish analysis of the entire Bible in 5 to 7 or 8 years. Then our system will be ready to translate the complete Bible into many languages. So I end up here with an information sheet. This is our website, our mission video. We're a 501c3 organization, and you can see our financial statements there. And then this is contact information, email, and phone numbers. That's what I have.
Great, Richard. Thank you so very much. That was fascinating. So those of you who have questions or comments, we have about 4 or 5 minutes for that. Okay, Jack.
My question is, what Bible do you start with? I'm assuming you're starting with a translation, and it appears to be English. Am I missing something? Why would you not start with Greek and Hebrew and so forth?
So we have different people who are working on these translations, and they have their own preferred sources. When I'm doing it, I look at NIV, NCV, which is the New Century Version, and the NASB, And then when I have questions about the text, I look at the Greek. And I also refer to translation notes, which is a Wycliffe resource, and USB handbook when I have questions. So you might wonder why don't we translate directly from the Greek and make it exactly as close as we can to the Greek? Well, in order to make our system as easy as possible to be usable by a variety of languages, we like to have simple sentence structure and simple vocabulary. And so we don't try to make it exactly literal like the Greek, but we try to make it consistent with the Greek and Hebrew.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We have time for one more question. Okay, I will ask one then. Richard, how many people at this point are actually actively working on both preparing the analysis and the overall project that you're working on?
Well, you could say there are 2 or 3 people in our organization. Wycliffe Canada has 3 translators who are working on the analysis of the meaning, and I'm supervising them. And then they do kind of the initial analysis, which is using an English-based system, and I didn't get into that in detail. Then there are a couple of other people from Wycliffe Canada who are working on the next stage of the analysis, which is getting it into the computer. So I would say about 5 from Wycliffe Canada right now.
Okay, that's great. Sounds like a very exciting project, and thank you for sharing about that today.
Thank you.